Hey, welcome in. Today we're talking about something that sits right outside your front door that you probably haven't thought about in years, and that quietly represents one of the bigger chunks of concrete on your property, your driveway. Specifically, how long the thing is actually supposed to last, and what you can do to squeeze more years out of it. So let's start with the number everybody wants. A properly built concrete driveway lasts 30 to 50 years. That's the honest range for a residential slab poured at 4 inches thick over a compacted stone base. And I'll go further than that. There are driveways in the older Dayton neighborhoods that are past 60 years old and still taking daily traffic without a complaint. They're not pretty anymore, but they're doing the job. Now here's the other side of that. A badly built slab can be finished in 5 years, not 50. 5, poured over soft fill, cut with the wrong joint spacing or troweled in the wrong weather, and you'll watch a crack open up straight across the full width of the drive before your kid finishes elementary school. So the real answer to how long does it last isn't a number at all. It's two questions: how was it built, and what did you do to it after that first winter? Let's take those apart. First, the base. This is the part nobody sees and almost nobody asks about, and it's the single biggest factor in the whole equation. Concrete almost never fails because the concrete was weak. It fails because the ground underneath it moved. That's it. That's the story on the vast majority of failed driveways. What you want under a slab is 4 to 6 inches of compacted gravel, compacted being the key word. That layer does two jobs. It spreads the load evenly so no single spot takes the whole hit, and it gives water somewhere to go instead of sitting under your concrete. And around here that matters more than most places, because Miami Valley soil carries a lot of clay. Clay swells when it's wet and shrinks when it dries out, so it's constantly moving season to season, year after year. Put a rigid slab on top of soil that's breathing like that with no properly compacted base in between, and the concrete's going to lose that argument. Skipping compaction is probably the #1 reason a local driveway cracks early. Second thing, thickness and reinforcement. 4 inches is genuinely fine for cars and half-ton pickups. That's most people. But if you've got a work truck, an RV, or you're regularly parking a loaded trailer on there, 4 inches isn't the spec you want. You want 5 to 6 inches with rebar or wire mesh in it. And here's the part that surprises people. That upgrade costs maybe 15% more on a new pour. 15%. For that you can add a decade or more of service life. If you're pouring new concrete anyway and you know you've got heavy vehicles, that's one of the easier decisions you'll make on the whole project. Third thing, the mix and the weather on the day it goes down. Ohio driveways should be a 4,000 psi mix with entrained air. Entrained air just means there are microscopic air pockets built into the concrete. Sounds like a weakness. It's the opposite. Those little voids give freezing water somewhere to expand into. That's the difference between a surface that lasts 30 years and one that starts flaking apart by year 6. And timing matters just as much as the mix does. Concrete placed in July heat without proper curing never reaches full strength. Same goes for a pour in late November when the night temperatures drop below freezing before it's had a chance to set up properly. That slab is compromised from day one, and no amount of maintenance later on fixes it. Okay, so that's how it's built. Now let's talk about what our climate does to it. Southwest Ohio is genuinely hard on concrete. We swing above and below freezing dozens of times between December and March. Not once or twice, dozens. And every single one of those swings pulls water into the surface pores of the concrete and then expands it. That's what causes scaling. Scaling is that shallow flaking that makes a driveway look chewed up and old, well before it's actually lost any structural strength. Road salt makes all of it worse. Salt tracked off Dayton streets onto your driveway increases the number of freeze cycles the surface goes through, and it attacks unsealed concrete directly. 2 rules cover most of that damage. First, never use dacers on concrete in its first winter. That slab is still gaining strength, and salt in year 1 does damage you'll be looking at for decades. Second, when you do use something, go with calcium chloride or plain sand instead of the ammonium-based products marketed as fast-acting ice melt. Those are rough on concrete. Now sealing. This is the cheapest thing you can do to extend the life of a slab, and it's the thing most people skip. You want a penetrating sealer, silane or siloxane. Those soak into the concrete and block water and salt from the inside rather than sitting on top as a film. Seal a new driveway about 30 days after the pour, then every 3 to 5 years after that. If you've got heavy traffic or the drive sits in full sun all day, lean toward 3. And skip the glossy acrylic film sealers on a driveway. I know they look sharp. They look sharp for exactly 1 season, then they peel, and in the meantime they're slick as anything when they're wet. Want an easy way to check whether yours is still working? Pour a cup of water on the surface. If it beads up, you're fine. If it darkens the concrete and soaks straight in, you're due. Now here's the part everyone forgets entirely: joints. Control joints are those grooves cut into the slab, usually every 10 to 12 feet. They're not decorative. They exist so that when the concrete cracks, and it will, that's what concrete does, it cracks where you chose instead of randomly across the middle of your driveway. But those joints have to stay filled. An open joint is a funnel. It collects water, grit, and salt, and all of that works its way down to the base and starts undermining the slab from underneath. Clean them out and refill them with a self-leveling polyurethane caulk every few years. Same goes for the expansion joint where the driveway meets your garage or a connecting walkway. So a realistic maintenance schedule looks like this: reseal every 3 to 5 years, refill the control joints on that same cycle, clear the drainage along the edges twice a year so you're not washing soil out from under the sides, fix small cracks as they show up before freeze damage widens them, and clean off oil and rust when you notice it because that eats your sealer. That's it, that's the whole list. Last thing, how do you know when a driveway's actually done? Hairline cracks and light surface wear on a 20-year-old slab. Normal, worth fixing, not worth panicking over. Structural failure looks different. You're looking for sections that have sunk or heaved more than an inch out of plane, wide cracks with crumbling edges running the full width, deep scaling that's exposing the aggregate across big areas, or slabs that rock when a vehicle drives over them. Isolated problems usually respond well to targeted repair and slab leveling, but once more than about a third of the surface has failed, tearing it out and starting fresh costs you less than chasing repairs year after year. And honestly, most driveways we look at across Kettering, Beavercreek, and Centerville have more life left in them than the homeowner assumed. The ones that don't are almost always showing base failure, and no amount of surface work fixes that. If you're not sure which pile yours falls into, give us a call and we'll come take an honest look. We're Concrete Contractors, Dayton, Ohio, right here in Dayton, and the number is 937-939-2611. We'll tell you straight whether sealing and joint work buys you another 15 years or whether it's time. Either way, you'll know where you stand. Thanks for listening. Take care of that base.